Guts and Griffith are both immensely complex and layered characters, but at their core, they're pushed forward by the things they craved as children. Guts grew up knowing only battle. He held a sword in his hand as soon as he was old enough to lift one, and engaged in life or death battles starting at a ridiculously young age. He didn't know anything of wealth or poverty, only battle, but there was something his life lacked that he craved: connection. Griffith grew up in the slums. He was a commoner surrounded by friends, but there was something his life lacked that he craved: a dream to give him a sense of direction. As a child, Guts craved connection with his father figure, Gambino, and Gambino taught him a lesson that would haunt Guts for the rest of his life. The connection was impossible. That Guts was bad luck and would ruin the lives of all he interacted with. He taught Guts this lesson by telling him he should have died under his mother's corpse, that he was the reason Shizu died, and that he was nothing but a burden. Gambino then attempted to murder him, and admitted that he sold Guts to Donovan, after which Guts accidentally murdered Gambino and was forced to run away. Guts internalized his father figure's words and threw himself into battle after battle. He believed that creating connections was impossible for him, and that he could only bring pain to others. So he hid that pain behind his sword, swinging it until his painful thoughts would disappear into the battle for survival. That is, until he met the Band of the Hawk, until he met Griffith. Griffith did everything he could to fulfill his dream. He created the Band of the Hawk, a group of soldiers all enamored by his dream, and laid countless bloodied corpses of enemy and ally alike on the battlefield in the name of his ambitions. He felt the pressure of the deaths of his comrades as they all died following his dreams, and that pushed him to believe in his dream even more so that their deaths wouldn't be in vain. He knew that everyone that met him would either fall as an ally or as an enemy. The road to fulfilling his dream was laid in blood and sacrifice. When Guts first met Griffith, he didn't immediately see Griffith as something special, a being to hate or worship. To Guts, Griffith just was. Griffith was taken aback by the man's power and refusal to get swept up in Griffith's charisma. He found himself craving something that he'd never wanted before: connection, the very thing Guts had spent his life craving. The more Griffith went out of his way to protect Guts, the more he trusted Guts to go out on important missions without telling the rest of the Hawk, and the more he showed Guts a side to him that no one else got to see, the more Guts opened up to the idea that maybe he could have that connection he'd always craved. But then, he overheard Griffith tell Princess Charlotte what a friend was to him: one who's his equal, one who lived by a dream and wouldn't let anyone get in the way of that dream, even if it was Griffith himself. This caused Guts to crave something he'd never wanted before: a dream. The very thing Griffith had craved since childhood. The connection that Guts had craved his whole life caused him to grow closer to Griffith, and that facilitated the craving Griffith had for Guts. The dream that Griffith had craved his whole life pushed Guts to crave the same thing and set off on his own. They both wanted the same things, and yet those cravings drove them to part ways. Losing the thing that had become almost as important to Griffith as his dream caused him to lose his composure and sleep with Princess Charlotte, leading to him being captured, ripped of his newly found status, and tortured within the kingdom's dungeon for a year. Because of his self-destructive actions, his dream was seemingly derailed. Then, the eclipse occurred. Griffith had to choose between the cravings for his dream and his craving for connection. His body was torn to shreds, and it would have been impossible for him to attain his dream in his current state. He was given the choice to cast aside his connections to attain his dream, and he took it, sacrificing his comrades, assaulting Casca, and burning the trauma of the eclipse into Guts physically through the brand and the loss of his arm and eye, and emotionally through his disgusting actions against Casca. Griffith forcefully silenced his own heart for the sake of his dream, and Guts' heart was seared with hatred and a need for revenge. Griffith's choice to follow his dream led Guts to sacrifice himself for a dream called revenge. He spent 2 years fighting in a seemingly unwinnable war to fulfill his dream before he returned to Casca, only to find she was gone. Guts then had to choose between the craving for his dream and his craving for connection. He chose connection and put his dream on hold, searching for Casca. Through his journey to protect Casca, he made allies that became friends, solidifying his choice to create and maintain connections instead of sacrificing himself to his dream. Both Guts and Griffith are heavily defined by their cravings as children, and the way their cravings affected each other. What darkness will Griffith's dream bring upon the world? Will Guts' connection with Casca and his friends reverse the destiny he's been handed as a sacrifice? Only time will tell. This has been Evan. Thank you for watching.